Two legends of Silicon Valley, John Seeley Brown, John Hagel, co-chair of the intriguingly named Center for the Edge from Deloitte. John Seeley Brown, before we get on to this Center for the Edge, tell me a little bit about yourself. In a minute, what have you spent your life doing?
Well, my current title is Chief of Confusion, as I said coming in, but before that I was the Chief Scientist of Xerox Corporation and head of the famed, or infamous, depending on what side of the fence you come from, the Xerox Palo Alto Research Center, Xerox Parc.
Big deal, though, right?
It was a fun deal, and a big deal, yeah.
What did you invent? You were the guys who invented the mouse?
Well, we actually borrowed the design of the mouse from somebody else, but we invented almost everything else.
That's a story in itself, in terms of itself.
Yep.
And how long were you at Xerox?
For about 30 years.
John, can you compete with your co-author, John, your friend, your co-chairman?
Never try to compete with him. I've been in Silicon Valley for almost 30 years. Most of the time has been with management consulting firms. I spent 16 years with McKinsey. I've been with Deloitte for about 3 years, and along the way did a couple of startups and actually worked with Atari in the video game business a long time ago.
Now, when I think of Deloitte, I think of boring accountants, but you're the co-chairs of this thing called the Center for the Edge. Very, very interestingly named organization, or perhaps non-organization. Explain the name and explain what it does.
We embrace paradox in everything we do, so we started with the title as a core paradox. The theme of the Center for the Edge is that innovation tends to concentrate on various edges. Whether you think about geographic edges, emerging economies like China and India, demographic edges like the younger generation coming into the marketplace or the workforce, that's where you look for the early evidence of major new innovations. And so we spend all our time studying what's going on various edges and trying to help executives understand the opportunities that are created and often the challenges.
John Seeley Brown, can you study the edge from the center or a center?
Well, I think the catch is to marinate on the edge ourselves. So we try to traffic in these topics as much as possible ourselves, but then the other challenge is if you're on the edge, how do you impact the core? So part of our game is how do we kind of live on the edge, but find ways to talk about it in compelling ways for people in the core to begin to appreciate that strategic advantage comes from understanding the edge, if not moving more rapidly onto the edge.
How did you get Deloitte on board this? Was there someone very senior who bought it?
Well, actually, we were approached by Deloitte. We were quite happy doing what we were doing, and all of a sudden got a phone call one day saying they wanted to set up this new research center, and they thought we'd be very well suited to run it and build it. So they approached us. They have a lot of ambition to move beyond where they are today and really help executives anticipate change before it happens.
Can Deloitte exist on the edge?
You say, can it exist on the edge? It's doing a pretty good job, one step at a time. But I think going back to the edge core idea is that, so much of what I have done in the past is purely technological edge. But the real game for us is how do we bring strategy, organization theory, and the edge thinking in terms of technology all together. It's easy to think just about technological edge. The trick is how to actually think about what is the organization of tomorrow going to be like that understands and knows how to leverage what we can do on the edge.
And for viewers who are interested in Deloitte's Center for the Edge, how would they best get on that edge or find their way into the center?
There's a website that is part of Deloitte.com. If they go to Deloitte.com and just search for Center for the Edge, they'll find the collection of our materials and research there. We're quite public in terms of the research we do, and we publish a lot of working papers around it.
I think you ought to talk about edge perspectives too.
No, that's true. We have a joint website called edgeperspectives.com, which actually goes much more into a broader set of work that we've been doing for almost 15 years together. So it brings together the full body of research and writing that we've been doing.
And you have a physical center for the edge?
Yes, it's based in San Jose as part of Deloitte's office down there.
The ultimate edge.
But we move around a lot.
That's right. It's a conceptual center. We're on the road almost constantly.